advance the interest of foreign-owned Federal Reserve by directing the President, Congress, and the narrative through operatives in their news and information networks. In 1925, the owners of the Federal Reserve formed the United States Corporation. Just 5 out of the 100 shares issued were identified, with the balance of the shareholders of the U.S. Corp remaining anonymous. Yet the money trail leads to the City of London, the British Crown, and the Vatican. The tax dollars we send to the Internal Revenue Service go to the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, which are under their control. The official formation of U.S. Corp set the stage for the transformation of America from a constitutional republic of the people to a corporation owned by foreign interests and their families. Over the next few years, the individual states were registered as corporations as well, making them franchises of U.S. Corp. Representatives and senators neither represent nor work for the American people. Rather, they are managers of U.S. Corp, and as such, they are obligated first to serve its best interest. The president is not just the president of America, he is the CEO of U.S. Corporation. 14. The abbreviated term United States was purposely used to represent both America and U.S. Corp, to blur the distinction between them. Similarly, the original U.S. Constitution was quietly supplanted by an imposter corporate, all capital letters, Constitution, that bears a similar name and appearance, again to confuse and deceive the American people. Specifically, the Constitution for the United States of America was replaced by the Constitution of the United States. The latter's corporate statutes becoming the supreme law of America. 15. In 1933, the U.S. federal government declared bankruptcy, and President Roosevelt, its acting CEO, signed over to U.S. Corp, America, and its assets, including the people and our labor. The bankruptcy of 1930 that was arguably unnecessary, ceremonial in nature, and contrived and orchestrated without the consent of the people, completed the heist and transfer of America and its same foreign interests who own U.S. Corporation. In the bankruptcy of 1933, U.S. Corp forced the American people to surrender their gold in trade for debt notes called dollars, fiat currency that has no real value and that is depreciated continually through inflation to where it's worth just 4 cents today. The bankruptcy of 1933 put U.S. Corp in a state of emergency, allowing it to implement admiralty law, made evident by the gold fringe around the American flag. When in a U.S. corporation courtroom, you are considered at sea and not a citizen of 18. In 1936, U.S. Corp began issuing Social Security numbers to turn otherwise sovereign Americans into trustees of corporate fictions, making our labor taxable, which would otherwise be unconstitutional. According to U.S. Corp, you are not a live man or woman, but rather a representative of a corporation in your name. In 1945, the anonymous owners of U.S. Corp founded the United Nations under the guise of spreading peace, civility, and humanitarian assistance throughout the world. Yet the true purpose is to condition citizens to recognize an international authority, a first step in establishing their new world order, in which the U.S. Constitution is retired to make room for a universal totalitarian government. United Nations publications Agenda 21 and Agenda 30 reveal the new world order agenda, calling for the end of nationalism, patriotism, private property, individual, the two-parent family, automobiles, air travel, and the right to defend ourselves from a tyrannical government. In keeping with their goal of sustainable development, they plan to reduce the population by over 90%, ridding America and the world of dissidents and useless eaters. The remaining useful servants are to live in coastal communities wherein they will be stacked and packed in micro apartments. 21. The only thing standing in their way of their new world order is a strong, prosperous, and secure America. To achieve their goal of world domination, America must lose its sovereignty and leadership position, and thus why the owners of U.S. Corp quietly work to undermine our culture, systems, beliefs, standards, aspirations, and morals for over 100 years, employing unrestrained methods and tactics. 22. With trillions of dollars at their disposal every year from taxing our labor, the owners of U.S. Corp fund leftist nonprofit groups, including the Council of Foreign Relations, that work to subvert our nation and silence anyone in opposition. They integrate the officials and administrators who run the largest charities and organizations, including the AMA, the APA, the CDC, the FCC, the SEC, and the FDA, and they embed operatives in the State Department, the Department of Justice, and intelligence agencies, official and covert, including the NSA, FBI, and CIA. 23. In trade for generous grants and endowments, the anonymous owners of U.S. Corp shape the curriculum and political sentiment of the public schools, colleges, and universities, ensuring the next generations, our children, harbor disdain for their country, their history, their culture, their family, and even their ethnicity. 24. The anonymous owners of U.S. Corp keep the people in the dark about true history of America, the greatest heist and cover-up in history, by controlling public education, the major publishers, the news services, the airwaves, and the social and information networks. 25. The foreign owners of U.S. Corp prop up puppets throughout society and government, allowing them to make millions of dollars in trade for perpetrating their agenda of secrecy and subjugation of America. These traders include prominent politicians, newsreaders, pundits, authors, movie stars, and the heads of the social, news, and information networks, major sports teams, musical and entertainment industries, and corporate conglomerates responsible for over 90% of the products designed, manufactured, advertised, purchased, financed, and consumed. 26. By way of funding campaigns and fixing elections, the owners of U.S. Corp obligate the most influential politicians to further their agenda by breaking America socially and financially. They promote disdain for our country, dependency on government, indulgence, lawlessness, and immorality to spoil and dishearten citizens, predisposing them to trade their sovereignty for the false promises of an international unelected government sponsored by the world elite. 27. By way of the Democrat Party and operatives posing as television hosts, entertainers, journalists, pundits, and policy experts, the owners of U.S. Corp brainwash and condition the people to accept invalid arguments and pseudoscience that call for globalism, socialism, and a godless society in which technology is our moral compass. 28. The operatives of a foreign-owned U.S. Corp are deeply rooted throughout the news and information networks, academia, government, and society.